Hey guys, thanks for joining me today. I'm glad you guys came back. This is Spagavra's Garage, and today we're going to be talking about the Supra and some updates. I've gotten a lot of questions, a lot of comments, both on here in the comments and over on Instagram, because I've been posting up photos. I know I haven't done a video in a while. Well, part of it's because I haven't had the car for a little bit. It's been a little over a week at the dealership. About a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago, I dropped it. I put these Ibach springs on here, the Ibach Pro Kit, so it dropped it. But when it did, the alignment needed to be fixed. So went out, my wife and I took it out pretty much every night after work, drove, put some miles on it to get those springs to settle. Great Oklahoma roads, being as crappy as they are, really helped to break those in. I think about 500 miles of driving on the roads out here is probably equivalent to a couple thousand of normal roads. So it took some beating there. I haven't been bottoming out. It scrapes just slightly getting in and out of my driveway, but other than that, it has been great. Speed bumps, gym parking lot has speed bumps, and they're not little tiny speed bumps, and I haven't had any problems there. So I think I'm pretty good most places. If there's really steep, abrupt changes going into any parking lots, I'll probably go a little bit sideways to get it so that it's not scraping there. But I've had a lot of questions about where do things stand. I took it in for the engine because of the oil consumption issues, got that checked out, got that looked at, got a TAS started with Toyota there. And then I had mentioned that when I was under it doing the springs, I noticed that the rear diff had oil all over it. Cleaned it up, tried tightening up the drain plug. It was not that. And like a lot of people had commented when I posted up about it, that it's actually a vent on top that's venting out. So it was coming from the top, dripping down. I cleaned it all up, took it into the dealership. They actually noticed where it was coming from, did some tests, put some dye in there to make sure there wasn't leaking anywhere else, resurfaced it, and now I've got it back. But one of the things I wanted to do was talk about how you can keep that from being such a problem. Because really what happens is the oil inside of there heats up, the gear oil heats up, and it vents out the top. So there are ways that you can combat that. You can either get a new differential cover that has more fins on it, bigger fins that help the cooling, or there are some plates that actually route air, kind of almost like an air scoop. It grabs air, throws it up against those fins, because the fins are on the back. And so with the air flowing underneath the car, it's not really hitting it because the fins are back here and kind of protected from the airflow. So if you get a scoop that actually takes that air and routes it up, you could have it come up the back and hit that. And now you've got actual cooling. And tests have shown that that actually does work. So let's talk about the two issues. All right, guys, it's no secret that there have been oil consumption problems with the 2021 Supras. And like I said, I've had the problems myself. I actually took it in, had it looked at. They started a TAS. Toyota and BMW have been trying to figure out what to do with it. Now, I've heard that this solution may be pistons and rings. I don't know though. I haven't heard anything since. My dealership hasn't heard anything. I think they're all kind of waiting and seeing just how bad the problem is, how prevalent it is, because I know it's not just with Toyotas, it's also with the BMWs with the same engine that's in the 2021s. Those small tweaks that were made, going from 2-port to 6-port, and whatever else it was that was changed in there. But I will say, so I had gotten it at 3,800, 5,700, and so it was under 2,000 miles that I was getting the low oil warning. And since I took it in, they drained it, refilled it, serviced it, but they didn't change out the filter, which I found kind of weird, but whatever. I will be doing an oil change here soon, and it will get to a filter change with that. But it's now been, I'm at about 7,500 miles on it, and I haven't had any issues. I just ran the test just yesterday, and it's still sitting completely full. So it is burning no oil at this point. So I don't know I don't know. I don't know if maybe with them testing the compression, it pushed something out. I really, truly don't know what the change has been, but I'm not experiencing any oil burning issues at this point. The other issue was the rear differential, and turns out that is just the venting. It gets hot. There's a vent plug up top that vents the pressure out, and supposedly that's pretty common. I've had rear-wheel drive cars before, I've had rear-wheel drive trucks. I've never had an issue with any oil anywhere back there. Yeah, I do get on this and push it pretty hard. It is, you know, pushing some pretty good power, and I do drive it spiritedly, we'll say that. So having that back there, knowing that it's no big concern, that there's not a leak, that there's not anything broken, does ease my mind. But to try and alleviate it, I am going to go with a product. So let's take a look at what I'm going to do. Okay, so knowing that this is an issue, is a problem, or something that people deal with, Veris Engineering actually came up with this plate, and they call it the rear differential cooling plate. You can see it's got their logo there. But what it does is it sits, you can see it's shaped, it's flat on the bottom, and then has like a scoop in the back. And so it will actually sit underneath with the open area facing front. Air will come in and it'll direct it up and reroute air against those cooling fins that are on the back side of the rear differential, thereby keeping it cooler. And they've actually got some videos out there on YouTube where they have tested this, and they've shown that yes, it still rises in temperature, but it plateaus, whereas the stock one without this installed kept rising. And so pretty definitive test that it does work, that it does keep it cooler, and hopefully it keeps it cool enough that it doesn't get to the point where it starts bubbling out, spewing oil all over the back of the car. So I'm gonna install this. Next video that I do will be me installing this. Relatively inexpensive, about 100 bucks. And if it prevents that and keeps me from having to service it so often, for me, that's a win. So I'll go with it. So I'll be doing that. Other things I've got going on, I'm still waiting on my engine cover and ECU cover to be finished up. We did the hydro dip on them. So I painted them the same color as the car, and then we hydro dipped them. Didn't turn out quite as well as I wanted it to. It kind of ballooned out the sides as the big piece was going in, and so it was distorted. So we're redoing it. I bought new stuff and we're re-dipping it. Problem is, it's raining outside now. That's why we're not outside doing this, and the humidity has to be at a right level to do that, to keep it looking good. So we've got it repainted, finally resprayed it just the other day, and now we're gonna be dipping it, and hopefully, fingers crossed, I've got that ready to go. With all the red accents in there, the new charge pipe, everything looking good. I can't wait to get that in there. Hopefully, next Sunday, we've got another cruise here in Oklahoma. We're doing a cruise through some of the back roads, rural back roads. We do one every month. But I'm hoping that we've got it all finished up, so I've got that for that. Other things I'm doing, let's see. Other thing I'm waiting on is the downpipe. So you guys know I ordered that. I had an active auto work downpipe that I was going to be installing on here. Unfortunately, the one that came in was catless, and I wanted the catted. So now I'm waiting on either the CG Precision or the active auto work one, because fingers crossed both of them will keep me from getting a CEL. We'll get that installed as soon as it comes in, but unfortunately the EPA and the Clean Air Act, they've kind of been really cracking down on automotive tuners and modifications to exhaust systems, specifically when it deals with emission systems. And while I don't have any emission controls here in Oklahoma, other states do, and so it's kind of become a big issue, and the EPA has been cracking down, and so it's been a lot harder to come by the parts. Plus, COVID and supply chain issues have really slowed things down. So that's another big one that I'm waiting on. As soon as I get that, I'll put it in, and then we'll be doing some more tuning on the car to really get it tweaked for the amount of back pressure that's there, because it's going to be a lot higher flow than what's currently in there with the stock downpipe. I've got everything else set up, ready, just waiting for that to go in, and then who knows, down the road, maybe it'll be a Pure 7, Pure 800. We'll see, but first we got to get that going and see where we are. So that's it. Come back for the next video where I will be installing this cooling plate on the rear differential, and then we'll be doing some tests. I'll go out, I'll ride it pretty hard, probably after the cruise. That'll be a couple 100 miles of rather hard driving, and we'll see whether or not there's any oil coming out. We'll clean it up ahead of time. I'll clean it up before I put this on, and then we'll take a look and see if we got any oil. Maybe that's the answer, and maybe from then on, we're good. But anyway, guys, I really, really appreciate you guys checking this out. Like I mentioned before, I do have an Instagram. It is at Spaguyver's Garage. Go check that out. I'm posting up content there, photos and stuff pretty regularly, more regularly than I had been in the past. And I'll keep doing that. Videos will keep coming. Let me know what you guys want to see, what you guys think should be done to the car, and maybe we'll look into doing some of those things. Appreciate it, guys. See ya.